And just like that, we are back with chapter 56 of the universe according to Mugsy. I am Mugsy the Creator, and today is Friday, January 24th, 2025. We are talking current events, culture, and consciousness. Hopefully in that order today. Hopefully in that order. There has been so much going on as we talk about every week. Every week we tune in and we talk about how much there is going on. And how you have no hope at all of discerning for yourself in real time what in the hell is happening, not only in the current events, but never mind the culture as it's changing. And the consciousness, which is even within yourself, you have no idea what's happening to you. We are going to try and dissect all three of those this week with some great stories. And the first one that I want to go back in time, we'll do this chronologically, and we'll start talking about Tik Tok. And the Tik Tok ban, that was nuts. That was nuts that they banned Tik Tok, because I don't think that the government truly understands what they revealed in that moment of kicking that all of these Americans off that application, geolocating people so that you couldn't use VPNs. It revealed that our VPN network is an illusion, that security is just security from our own understanding of who has access to it. Maybe we're protecting ourselves from someone here or there, but if anyone really truly wants to know where you are, they can absolutely figure it out. That's what the government revealed when they banned TikTok, and they kicked it out of the Apple Store and the Google Store. Both of those corporations capitulated almost immediately. That was very revelatory in and of itself, right? So there's so many ways we can go talking about TikTok. What is TikTok? I have talked about this in the past, but TikTok in and of itself is an application that steals your time, and it reprograms you as a computer that you are, right? In China, they use that application, that programming application, that code programmed application to show people videos of science and achievement and program Chinese citizens to strive towards some higher goal for society in coming together and a greater common good. And in the United States of America, that application, that program is unleashed to, honestly, I don't even know. It would probably depend on the day and whoever is in control of the algorithm, because these things are weapons. These things are computer algorithmic weapons that program humanity, and it steals your time, and they named it that to antagonize you to your face. TikTok. TikTok, you are becoming the thing that you hate. How TikTok, we're programming you right now. So that's why we got to talk about it. We got to talk about the government getting rid of it, and how if you can get rid of that in one sweep away of, we don't even know what you did. We don't even know what strings you pulled behind the scenes, government, because we don't even have a true understanding of how it works. Wow, that's what you revealed when you did that, right? You revealed that that's how the game works. Anytime we want to take somebody off the internet or something off the internet permanently, we can do that. So why have you not been doing that with child hoo-has, you know? Why have you not banned all of those from being shared? Why are these behind-the-scenes strings able to be pulled, but they never seem to be pulled for the common good? The things that we as citizens agree, 95% of us, that we would like to see completely eradicated from society. How come those things haven't been banned if you have the power to do so? Oh, we were not supposed to know that you had the power to do so. That is what you revealed right on your way out of office. The Biden White House administration revealed that these powers exist behind the scenes in this technocratic oligarchy fascist state that we have today. And we'll get into the culture part, and if we still have it today. But this TikTok thing it's really nuts. And we talked about how it was insane last week for Generation Z's revolt to be, we're going to give our information over to China no matter what if you ban this application, because it reveals just how innocent and naive they truly are. They have no idea the ramifications of the things that they're talking about, because they have no idea that they are truly being programmed. The problem is they are so addicted to it. They're so addicted to it. And I mean, if I was a kid, I would be addicted to it too. So it's not the worst thing to completely get rid of. That's why we're in such a peculiar place in society, right? We are in such a peculiar place. Oh, I don't know what hope we have other than for people to come to the realization that they should not be investing their energy into this, because they have no idea what they're truly becoming, because you cannot get outside of yourself while you're in the middle of being programmed. Oh, what a start. What a start. And that was a week ago. A week ago, that feels like several decades in terms of the information that we have been receiving. All out assault on the changes that are happening in real time in our life. I don't know how you keep up. We don't have time to talk about them all, but there are plenty of people out there that are. There are plenty of people that are going to talk about all of the 200 executive orders that went sweeping into our inauguration day. And it did feel, let's get into that specific day. The day that Donald Trump reclaimed the White House. For those of you that are Donald Trump fans, for the other people that were losing their minds on the internet, I don't know what to tell you. This is kind of how politics goes. And if this is your first entrance into the political landscape, then I truly do not think that this is a long-term game for you. I think that you need to rethink your investment of time into the political landscape, because if you're going to have a complete and total meltdown every time someone enters or leaves the White House, we're going to be doing this on repeat. Oh, are you starting to get the programming that we've been talking about? Oh, so that day, inauguration day for Donald Trump, started out with the Joe Biden White House laying down a litany of pardons that they had tested, right? Because that's how this whole game works. It's all about consciousness, and the people at the highest levels understand that. They tested this theory of pardoning Fauci, the January 6th committee, Liz Cheney, and a host of other people, pre-pardoning them for crimes that they had not even been accused of, not in any civil or criminal court, and pre-pardoning them for anything that may have gone on under the administration, and even going as far back with Joe Biden's family as 2014. That is crazy. So a week or two ago, they released that information via their news outlets, via leaks, right, that come in through the military-industrial complex to the news outlets. Those are the inside sources that our news legacy media has. They are government assets that leak this, so that the outrage already happened, and the outrage doesn't happen in real time, because then you may not be able to control the situation that's happening in real time. All right, so they know this, which is why they leaked it a week ago, and they needed to also make sure that there was not going to be any violent opposition to this that couldn't be predicted. So understanding that, they waited until this morning to do that, right on their way out of office, so it will get swept under the rug with the Trump inauguration of the news cycle and all of the executive orders he already said he was planning to initiate on day one. Do you understand how they hijack your ability to follow the entire story, even throughout one single day in a news cycle? Unless you have the memory capacity to be able to memory hold these things, and then dedicate some specific time to going back and really looking at what these things mean in a broader context of our everyday life, and what that reveals about not only the last 4 years, but Joe Biden's entire time in politics, his White House, all of his staff, all of the people that worked for him, everything that they did must now be looked at and examined under this microscope of they were all committing crimes the entire time. Because If what we are to believe the new norm is, it is to have an administration come in with a free pass for anybody that works for the administration, because under the understanding that if you do anything, even if you were not accused of the crime, we will pre-pardon you for any crimes that went on. This is a crazy place for us to exist in society. That is nuts, and all of that just happened. And Dr. Anthony Fauci, oh my God, I see people losing their minds on the internet because we cannot prosecute Dr. Anthony Fauci for all of the crimes that may or may not have been committed. We have no idea because we're not allowed to ask those questions anymore because he's been pardoned for anything that went on during those times. People are losing their mind because they can't get him now. What are you talking about? This reveals that everything he did was a crime. If you want to get Dr. Anthony Fauci, why don't you start with HIV and then go forward or backward from there until the time that he was pardoned? There are plenty of things we can get people on if you really want to get people. I am not in the business of going out and getting people. What I am in the business of doing is interpreting reality for you people that don't have the time to be able to discern it for yourself so that you may move about this earth, time, space freely and make the decisions for yourself freely that you want to make, whether they be the best for your health, the worst for your health, the best for your freedom, the worst for your freedom. It is not up to me to decide. It is up to you to freely decide, because I believe that that is the agreement that we are all in under the Constitution of the United States and just coming to Earth as humans, okay? I think we all get to move about this earth freely, make our own decisions, and with the freest information that we can get. There's going to be people fighting against free information. There always have been. There always will be. And there's going to be people promoting that free information. And that's why I give this information away for free, because my intention is to truly help people. And the only way that I can do that is if I give it away freely. So patreon.com/MugsyTheCreator if you would like to help support me in my giving this away for free. All right, that's a nice shameless plug. I have to get better at those plugs because it does not appear that anybody knows that I'm out here, but that's okay. That's okay for now. We're going to have this amazing catalog of information that we have put out there for the public, and people are going to say, I can't believe this guy was saying that way back when. Yes, that's me. I'm the guy. This is how time works. This is reality creation. I am creating that reality for you to have in the future by doing this right now. Oh my God, I'm getting so good at this. I cannot wait until somebody who truly understands physics and quantum mechanics actually listens to this podcast and they start to see that there is some logic behind what this crazy person is doing. And what he's doing is he is using his left and his right brain, the intuitive and the logical side, to put these things into practice and start to control reality. That is how I do this. That is how I entertain you. That is how I make you watch this video. Oh, we are having such a blast already. I can't believe I have this much fun alone in a fucking, you don't even know where I am. You don't even know. So that is the Anthony Fauci part of this, and the Liz Cheney and the January 6th. A lot of this information has come out, right? It's a lot of your worst fears, your worst nightmares. For there to be pardons that were, again, not even accused. No one was even accused of crimes. And you pardon these people. Oh, that reveals what has truly gone on the whole time. And that was just the morning. Now, how are people supposed to keep up with this? Because the culture literally changed in real time. I could feel it. I don't know if you guys could feel it. The way that people were walking about society literally changed when Trump took office. That was the exact same thing certain people were freaking out about. But what it reveals is our culture truly does hinge on this polarization and this pendulum that swings back and forth. Whether that's a good thing or whether it's a bad thing, I think we can all understand that we feel it. So then Trump comes into office and he drops 200 executive orders on the first 2 days of office, things that range from going against the Constitution of the United States by removing birthright citizenship to declaring things of scientific fact, a declaration politically, such as there are two sexes, male and female. and those are the only things that are going to be recognized by the United States government, that's like, I don't know, saying water's wet and we breathe air. It's a kind of weird presidential day one declaration, but it was necessary to remove a lot of the offices and infrastructure that has been bogged down into our political atmosphere, that if it's unable to at least discern that men should not be in women's bathrooms, then what are we all doing here in the first place? How much of this could have been put into the organizations and mission statements to each have their own offices in all of these deep state institutions? And when I say deep state, I don't say it with bad intention. What I mean by deep state is there's so many offices and organizations inside of this massive federal government that has just been growing and growing like a blob for so long unchecked that it is ridiculous how a declaration of a fact that there are two sexes, male and female, has such a weight on the removal of so much government legislature that shouldn't be there in the first place. So now society has to revert back to some other understanding of our culture as it existed in a time before 2020 or 2016 or 2012. It depends on where you existed in the United States when these things started getting implemented. In blue states, they might have been implemented in the early 2000s. In red states, they might have been implemented in the late 2000 teens. All right, this concept of culture and what we have become is changing in real time with each legislative action that is imposed upon us. Some of these 200 are designed to remove some of that. Some of them may be imposing a whole nother 200. If you really care about going through these executive orders, I encourage you to find someone who's talking about them. I'm quite sure Glenn Greenwald, Matt Taibbi, Walter Kern, the people over at Breaking Point, Sagar and Jetty and Crystal Ball. I'm sure that Jimmy Dore is doing a great job talking about it on his show. Tim Pool and the guys on Timcast IRL every night live on YouTube with the biggest live news show on YouTube. They have the largest audience. I encourage you to check out PBD and those guys breaking down some of these executive orders and talking to some of the people that maybe they're having some sway over how they get implemented, like some of these tech moguls. And Elon Musk, who's going to have much more of an outweighed hand over what gets done as it is revealed that he is able to create this Department of Government Efficiency, Doge. It's just so exciting. Elon created Doge. That's awesome. A Department of Government Efficiency to help us remove some of this infrastructure that has bogged us down and prevented us from being a nimble federal government that is required of us to be flexible to better help our citizens. That in and of itself is a great thing, but I also saw a whole bunch of tech billionaires that were on the other side of this, not but a year, 6 months, 3 months, 6 weeks ago. I'm talking about Jeff Bezos. I'm talking about Mark Zuckerberg. I'm talking about Bill Gates and some of the things that he said. Not long ago, these guys were on the other team, and now they're at the inauguration ball, celebrating with women in brasiers, as if that's an appropriate thing to wear to a presidential inauguration. And I don't think I'm some sort of boomer. I don't think I'm being anti-masculine, right? I would love to celebrate that woman's breasts or whatever type of putty or Play-Doh they currently are, because there's nothing on her that is truly natural. But it's just a wild thing to do. It's wild that Jeff Bezos couldn't have a conversation with her like, okay, sweetheart, I understand that you are a beautiful flower and you want everyone to recognize you as such. But we are going to a political inauguration. This is a transfer of power that is Sure, a celebration and ceremonial to a degree, but it's not the type of celebration and ceremony that I think you are under the impression that it is by wearing just a jacket over a bra. And the indication that I am not out of the norm here is even that robot Zuckerberg couldn't keep his robot eyes off of her boobs. It was so funny to watch. It was hilarious. It was like the first pair of knockers that guy had ever seen. And it might be because who knows what kind of robot Mark Zuckerberg is. Oh, these guys, they just all of a sudden they heel turned and they all of a sudden were supposed to forget about all the things that they did. Zuckerberg spent, I don't know how many $100 million not only contributing to the Biden administration, but also working with behind the scenes. He went on Joe Rogan to personally confess to that, personally confess to how his organization capitulated to the federal government, specifically the Biden White House, in censoring its users, and how he actually ethically thought it was bad at the time, but wasn't strong enough to speak up then, but now all of a sudden he can check out a pair of knockers, and I'm supposed to believe he has the masculine energy to be able to resist the federal government now, as he has now heel turned to this exact new federal government leader. Come on, I'm just not that stupid. I am just not capable of being that stupid. I'm a stupid human being, but even I am able to see through what is going on here. You guys are all controlled by something or someone, and I don't know what that thing is, but I know it when I see it, because I've seen a man dragged around by his woman before, and I'm not saying that's what was happening there with Jeff Bezos, but every man or woman in reality knows a guy that's whipped, right? That's just completely whipped, will do anything his woman says. That's something we can all relate to. These men, these tech mogul billionaires that are supposed to be the strongest men among us with, the most power and wealth. These men are doing the exact same thing to what? Nothing but to power. And whoever sits in that chair, in that position, I don't know exactly why. I mean, I think I could take some guesses here. We could all take a couple guesses why. They've all done some things that are pretty bad, and the person that could put him in jail is definitely the president. That's also the person that we just learned, can pardon you for absolutely anything, okay? Now, that's just one possible reason. There's a host of other reasons. I don't know, government contracts, things that may be investigated in some of those 200 presidential orders. It's just, I see a dog walk when it's happening, and there's a dog walk happening in real time. So that was just interesting as well with the inauguration and everything that was going on. And what else was going on? I mean, that truly represents how our culture can really change in real time. The way that even these algorithms are under some control depends on who's sitting in the White House chair to some degree. And it really reveals, too, that there's a deeper war going on at a level that the average Joe isn't privy to in real time. There's something going on. There's warring families. I mean, just think about the fact how we glossed over the fact that there were multiple attempts on Donald Trump's life. That's something we completely glossed over and nobody really investigates or talks about. In the third attempt on Donald Trump's life, there was a child who was run over. I'm not sure if that child survived or was fully paralyzed. Either way, that's a story that you would think that the media might have some interesting in covering, considering this was a person fleeing the scene of attempting to assassinate a former United States president running for political office. And that just immediately left the media landscape as quickly as it came in. And nobody even knows about that child that I was talking about, right? That's new information to a lot of the public. And how is that possible? It's because they are just throwing so much information at you that they hope you don't remember or recognize any of it. Truly, I mean, even just the velocity and speed with which I have to speak to get this information out so that so that I can explain it in layman's terms so that you can hear it in a way that you can relate to, right? Just, oh my God, it's so much information coming at you so fast. So We try and make it entertaining. We try and do it with the best of your intentions at heart here on this program, The Universe According to Mugsy, but I cannot vouch for any other program out there. I can direct you to programs that I believe are covering certain issues and will give you more insights into the ongoings behind the scenes that will help you peel back that onion, that curtain that is our reality as it exists in real time. And part of the way that we're going to do that is we're going to start talking about the consciousness, okay? Invisible things, the things that truly affect you. And there are some people that are able to cut through the bullshit that exists and truly see the world in a new light, and at the same time, the same way that it's always existed. These insights are truly valuable. And one of the people that I think is best at this is Kurt Metzger, and just the way that he talks about everything, because he was programmed as a child. For those of you who don't know, comedian Kurt Metzger, comedians in and of themselves have to dissect our society and all of the happenings and ongoings within it so that they may find the things that we are doing that are truly comical in nature, that we, if we pause for a moment and reflected on what was actually happening, would laugh at ourselves because we can relate to it, because it is truly an experience we've had in real time. It's something that we go back and remember as we are on that comedic journey, that vibration, that trip through reality, through the comedian's mind, and we experience in real time. That's what comedy is. So comedians have to see through all of the bullshit. But the reason that Kurt Metzger is particularly so good at this is because he was raised in a cult. And he, leaving a cult, had to reflect on all of the mind control operations that were going on, creating this cult and controlling his mind and all of the people in this reality to see reality and reflect it back in such a certain way. And what that revealed to Kurt is that is happening all over the place, like a peer-to-peer network. So if you think about humanity as computers, as projections of reality, like we've talked about on this program plenty of times, everything that we experience, we project back out into the world. That's why I spend so much time trying to have so much fun, because I know that I am projecting it back out into the world. So finding my own true happiness is important, not only for me, but it's important for my contribution back out to the network, because there are a couple ways to run computer systems, right? If we think about each of us as a computer system, we can run a computer on a peer-to-peer network, right? So we operate a certain percentage of that network on each operating system, that being the human being that relays it back to this overall operating system that is the network that is created, that is the reality. The other way to do it is have one big, large, powerful server that reaches back out and creates the reality and sends it to each human. Now, when we examine that, just computer structures and computer infrastructures and the way that they connect, those are two very interesting ways to set up a computer system. And with our understanding that we are electromagnetic beings and our experience is some sort of computation of our reality based on our current emotional state, projecting back out what we feel into reality, creating our percentage of the network that gets relayed back to some overall peer, right? It's the same thing we've been talking about the whole time. Consciousness creates culture, creates current events. It's just how far down the network are you before you see the results. That's all this is. And when we think about now, there's this big thing going on. People want to, going on, this is not something that's new. It's something that people have always been trying to do. It's control. It's just a different form of magic. All right. So putting a chip in our mind is just taking that cell phone and moving it from our pocket into our leg. It is really no different than putting a neural network onto our head. But what it's doing is controlling our capacity to create or receive energy, right? If we think about humanity and the percentage of our brain that we use as a measurement of how humanity is doing, we're looking at humanity in a completely different context. If we're only using 8 or 9% of our brain, we're really at the bottom percentage of our CPU usability. We should be able to create much more, and we can only do that if we use the capacity of our mind, if we're able to use it more for creation. So things like Neuralink that are going to be an outside object or something, a chip that goes inside of our body, will create us to some overall creation, but it will limit our capacity to create with our own energy. That's essentially what we're talking about. And those are things that comedian and former cult member Kurt Metzger are talking about, but humanity doesn't seem to be integrating. We're at that real time in our culture, in our consciousness, that we're going to have to start making these decisions for ourselves. And how are we going to choose to integrate? Are we going to choose to put these neural networks into or onto our body, those meta glasses, all of these things? Are we going to now re-examine some of the decisions we've made in the cell phones that we've been holding and how close we've been keeping them to our person? Because is it having a control over what we are actually projecting back out into the universe and our percentage of our brain that we're able to use to create some reality? That completely flips the way that we interact with this whole universe on its head. Even the way that we interact with each other. There's a reason that human communication when you're sitting in a room with someone is so much different. If we go back to what we were just talking about with comedy being a ride on a wave of consciousness, when we sit in a room with someone, we feel those vibrations, we feel their energy, we feel their electromagnetic pulsing throughout the room, throughout the space. That's what comedy does. As you are there in that environment, you feel the difference than when you're watching at YouTube. And anyone that's ever been to a comedy show can tell you that, oh yeah, that's true. It's an experience that we have. It is an experience that we have together, and we can only have that experience if we are in that peer-to-peer network and we are creating it in real time together. We're tapping in to some energy that's being created, and only in that room are we able to tap into that peer-to-peer network. What other peer-to-peer networks exist out there? Right? Loosh energy is a concept that's out there. People feed off of this negative energy that is created. Anybody that's poking you, right? Anybody that's trying to get under your skin, creating that negative energy out there. Some people seem to feed off that, but Kurt Metzger related that to an internet troll. That's just an internet troll. So these things, these different dimensions exist in real life. We interact with a dimension that everybody pretends isn't there in real time all the time. That's the homeless, right? Sometimes you go down to their dimension and you try and feed them, or you offer them a couple dollars, or you acknowledge them as a human being. And when you do that, you see that your power of observation changes them. They now feel felt, because you have entered their dimension of reality. Instead, there's another dimension that goes on of people pretending that they don't exist. That is how interdimensionality works in real time. It's around you all the time. You are just not picking up on it because you're using your energy to feed something else, and you're not tapping into your understanding, right? If you are on Twitter and someone's ever tried to troll you, sometimes you give into it. Sometimes you feed in. There's nothing better than feeding into that troll every once in a while and feeding back and letting that energetic energy out, that grossness, right? Sometimes that's the thing. The judgment is only in your mind, right? We are part good, part bad, part black, part white. The duality, the yin yang, it all exists inside of us. So if there is that unconscious and you're so afraid to get there, it's going to manifest itself through you in some way that you really don't like, unless you sometimes let that fucking cat out of the bag, all right? Sometimes you go to that dark place, you let those Twitter trolls get at you and you respond to them and you say, whatever that is, right? And you hope Elon doesn't block you, because you hope you have free speech to do that, because this Twitter troll had free speech to be able to. People do that in real life, okay? And you feed into it or you don't, right? When you don't feed into it, you don't give that energy, that power to somebody else. You don't give it away. That's all your power. That's all your consciousness. That's all your power of creation, the reality that you seek to create, because there is a true physiological response in your body, right? That's the thing that we don't stop and think about. We're putting our body under a physiological stress response when we feed into that louche energy or that negative or that troll, whatever you want to think about that in your mind. That's all your energy feeding into it. That's energy that could be utilized and redirected for something much more productive, much more positive, something that's going to, help you in your life, as opposed to help somebody else get a laugh. Or if you consider the fact that we know nothing, right? Then maybe that negative energy is being used for some sort of darker, deeper agenda. And by choosing to not exist in that dimension of reality, you are moving yourself into a different dimension where we create a different reality. You're connecting to a different peer-to-peer network, different upload, different download, and you are interfacing with reality in a different way. And that's going to have a different physiological response, all right? All right, this stuff should be obvious. When you get to a point, you can just see that some people are doing things differently. Are you going to continue to do things to operate the same way that you've always operated your computational system because of the limitations that you've been taught that you have? Or are you going to recognize that you have the choice to adapt and adopt another line of thinking, right? A different peer-to-peer network, a different way of interacting with reality, okay? That's what we're trying to talk about with this consciousness, with this reality creation. And that's what Kurt Metzger was getting to. And this is when you want to start talking about some of the things that are happening in reality in real time now, like the Akashic record. The Akashic record is the Mayan version of all of the information. So let's talk about this. Let's dive into it some more. So the Mayans, thousands of years ago, had this idea called the Akashic record. Because we are all star stuff, we are elements, earth, air, fire, water, and they believed in the ether. These are elements that we are literally physiologically consist of. These are the same elements that are on earth and must comprise all of the things that are continually comprised on earth. So we must be able to therefore become the water, the fire, the air, and the ether, the earth, and have access to all of that information. That is the Akashic record, okay? That is what the Mayans believed that they were tapping into, the frequency and vibrations of earth and nature in order to understand things that they couldn't possibly know or be able to perceive in any other way than divine intervention through those Akashic records. Today, we have a material technological creation of that device, and it is called the internet. We go onto it. Using our logic, we tap into some Akashic record that exists somewhere. We don't know exactly where, but it's all around us. This information is traveling like a web connected all around us in this network, this record that we can pull up and we can retrieve by using the operating systems that exist physiologically in the third dimension, like Google or Brave browser or DuckDuckGo or any of these search engines that you're using, right? It's also the things that intuitively come up, like our weather app, right? They're all tapped into the internet and the Weather Channel and all these things that we don't really know exactly where they exist, but they all exist and are connected. The problem with the internet and the Akashic record, the difference between the two, although they have many similarities, are there is someone that controls the internet. There's nobody that we know controls the Akashic record, right? Being able to tap into Mother Nature is being able to tap into whatever that is source. Whatever creates us creates that. That's what they're saying. The internet is created by user data that us humans create. But the internet is curated and cultivated. Someone controls it. Someone takes websites down. Someone puts them back up. The curated internet that you interact with is no more than 10% of the actual internet that exists. That is the deep, dark web that is unarchivable or unable for you to get to via your web connection unless you have the actual pathway and know exactly where to go and what you're looking for. So, when we think about that and just the Wayback Machine that exists, for those of you that don't know, the Wayback Machine is a machine that exists so when things get taken off Twitter, you can go into a Wayback Machine and see what Twitter looked like in April of 2020 or see what the internet looked like in 2000 or 1998. I don't know exactly. I think it was the early 2000s the Wayback Machine was implemented, but there you go. There's a catalog of different versions of the internet that existed. Different realities that were created over time where the information was changed because sometimes you shouldn't be trusted with information, right? That's the difference between the internet and the Akashic Record. The Akashic Record's available to anybody who seeks to tap into it. The internet's only available to people who know where to look. So feeding all of our data into this internet system and then allowing this system to control people, right? Control their consciousness, to control the reality that they create because they're interacting with this internet all the time. They have actually very limited control over how much they interact with it. You want to have a job? You need a cell phone, right? You need a phone to be able to call you. There are certain things that you need to be able to interact in reality and be able to provide for yourself. And those things have changed, and you need the internet for that in order to just exist and be a human. But that's a completely different way than used to be 100 years ago, 120 years ago, the whole time until 120 years ago, right? So as humanity has existed, we've really only been in this space and even the internet for such a tiny fraction of it. And that really reveals, oh shit. Because if you go back and you start looking at the internet now, anybody who goes back and looks at the internet, history doesn't hold up. And if history doesn't hold up, oh wow, that reveals that this really is much more of a fabrication, much more of a matrix, much more of a Wizard of Oz-like existence than we actually give credit to ever on a day-to-day basis. And when you think about that and how most people are feeding into this loose energy, doing things that they don't truly care about most of the day, whether it's a job, whether it's, most of it's jobs or being depressed, right? Not being able to create a life that you want for yourself. Oh my God, it reveals the game that's really afoot, and it's all in your own consciousness. Now, wasn't this such a great episode? We went right down the aisle. We knocked them down. Current events, Tik Tok, right? We talked about the Anthony Fauci. We talked about the pardons, and then we moved into the rest of that Inauguration Day. Donald Trump, his 200 executive orders, and we related it all back to you, where the culture changing means that it's even much more important in real time that you have control over your reality, because we are on some peer-to-peer network here, people. We are connecting to something. We are tapping in to something bigger, and it controls our reality through the experiences and the emotional state that we have, and we project back out into the universe. So take control of your consciousness if you ever want to see this reality change in the current events, all right? Because our consciousness helps contribute to the culture, which produces the current events that we see before us. I love you guys. It has been so fun. I will check in again soon. There's so much going on. Please go out to YouTube, Twitter, Rumble, Patreon, Apple, Spotify, MugsyTheCreator, and let me know that you are listening. It has been a pleasure. Take back your consciousness. I love you. I'm out.